You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
What's up, the internet? Trademark shirts available now on the EXP merch store. Head over to theexplive.com and click on merch store and get my t-shirts that say "What's up, the internet." I didn't pay to have that trademarked just for people to not buy t-shirts of it. So, just saying. This is In Stores This Week, where we talk about books that are in stores this week. Comics are a thing, man. I'm also stalling because Dan hasn't made it yet. I assume he had to run to the little show host room after his first show. And so he's running a little bit behind getting here for this show. So I'm stalling just a little bit. Jay, would you mind sending? There he is. Okay, good. So I could stop stalling now that Dan's here. I could actually talk and do my cold open about how if you head over to theexplive.com and click on merch store, you could buy a t-shirt that says "What's up, the internet?" And I have a new shirt that's going to be posted up there maybe tonight, probably tomorrow, that says "Not That Uncle Jesse," which is a reference to Nancy's store because her husband is Uncle Jesse. And soon we'll have shirts of Dan destroying California, like is his show logo. And hopefully Miss Jen's shirt will be live. Look, if you go and buy merch, it just helps us make more shows. I don't know if you guys realize that, but paying for the things that we ask you to pay for helps us make more shows. This is In Stores This Week, which is a show that I'm relatively sure they would pay us not to make, but there's not enough money in the world. This episode of In Stores This Week brought to you by Diet Dr. Pepper. When the store is out of Diet Mountain Dew, buy Diet Dr. Pepper.
Is that why Dan's late? He had to switch hats?
No, I got stuck in traffic.
Oh, okay.
Was there a line outside the little show host room, Dan?
No, I was trying to put the Bloodshot figure back in the box and stuff.
Awesome to hear, Ed.
It's
awesome.
okay because Jay and I went to the wrong room.
Well, I went to the right room first and noticed Kyle wasn't there. So I was like, last week he went to the wrong room. Let's check again.
I blame JD.
Goodness.
Is that book out? Whatever book you're showing, like, is it technically released?
Yes.
Okay. Because otherwise you're violating the rules.
Nope. This has been out about 2 or 3 weeks now.
Okay, good.
Yeah. This is the second issue of Silvestri's Batman the Joker, the Deadly Duo. And he keeps putting these black and white pages in the back. And that is, I'm almost buying them just for that.
It's true. What up, Jeff Wedding? Ed, congratulations on getting your Kickstarter in. And Cool Gamer. This is In Stores This Week, where we talk about books that are in stores this week. And Dan, I have a thing I need to ask you about. One of the books we've been reading every time it comes out is on my list that's supposed to be out this week, but we didn't get the PDF of it.
And what was that?
Census.
Did not show up in my list. I didn't get it.
So if it's on your list, I think it's been delayed 1 week and is out next week.
Okay, who puts that out?
Comixology Press. They're usually really good, and that's why I ask. If it wasn't in your email, then I'm almost certain it got delayed because my bill was like $5 short this week when my comic shop charged me. So I'm like, I didn't get one book I wanted. What was it?
The problem with Comixology is they tend to send stuff out like a month at a time.
Right.
And then I have to go back and I get like millions of emails a day.
That's fair. While Dan checks his email before we get started, remember, guys, at 8 o'clock tonight we have a new show, Mint Hunter Comics. Mint Hunter Comics.
Is it Mindhunter? I thought it was Mindhunter.
Yes, it's Mindhunter. Mindhunter is a show about a serial killer on Netflix. Mindhunter Comics, and yes, I changed all the social media posts, Dan. Don't worry about it. To be Mindhunter Comics. Brand new show. You may have seen his short form content other places on the internet. He's got a really big YouTube channel. He's joining us now doing sales shows and some other content. So we're excited to have James from Mindhunter join us starting tonight at 8:00. And then Jay and I get a half an hour with which to consume sustenance.
Yeah.
And then turn around and we have Country Roads Comics again, 9:30 to 11 tonight. Hopefully we won't get a copyright strike that brings the whole network to its knees again this week. But, you know, you never know. You might want to tune in and see what happens.
Yeah.
What did we get the strike about?
There's a game where you kick a round orb with your feet at a squarish netted thing. That's currently being played in a country in the Middle East that's sanctioned by an organization that is, you might call it the Globe Chalice. None of those words are the actual words that got us the copyright strike, but if you just switch them around and go with, go to thesaurus.com, you can figure out what I'm talking about.
So let us know in the comments if you can still see us.
Right.
Just wondered.
Yeah.
Okay. The news, by the way, that book did come out, or at least I do have the PDF for it, and I'm putting it up on the server. I just forgot all about Comixology because of how they send the books out.
Well, okay, then one of the other books I ordered is not in my pull this week, and I'm very confused and scared. So, watch it be the stupid TMNT Armageddon game book. And I got all the variants that I had to pay like extra for, but I didn't get the A cover.
Thank you, Eddie.
All right, let's get started, shall we? This is Bell Deep Freeze Retroverse. No, Bell Deep different thing.
Those are two different books.
Yeah, I know, but it shows how much I remember Bell Deep Freeze or Retroverse, ironically.
Well, here's what I'll say about this book. There's a cool kill in the beginning. In fact, I thought a couple of the kills were really cool, and the monsters were kind of cool. I like the fact that it's just Bell, but my same complaint that I have with a lot of these books is I don't need to know every single thought your character's thinking. Like, there is twice as many yellow exposition boxes as there is dialogue boxes, and there's a lot of dialogue in it, so that tells you something there. Some Zenescope books should just let the art speak for itself sometimes. We don't have to know every single solitary detail that's going on. Just let the art speak sometimes. Other than all that, I like this one more than most of the Zenescope books that we get.
I wish every Zenescope book was an art book. I don't need any of the dialogue or the story or any of that in this book. I think if I had just looked at the pictures, it would have told the story just as well. But also, like, it didn't do anything for me. It's why I couldn't remember that it and Retroverse were different books. You take two bland things and mash them together and you get one bland thing. So I love the pictures. I love the art in this book. Everything else about it did a disservice to the art.
All right. I think the important thing here is for me to tell you guys that according to the email I just got, Black Adam debuts on HBO Max this Friday.
Yeah. That's how much Dan cared about this book.
This was a typical Zenescope book. It wasn't as bad as some that have been. This one was decent, It was dialogue heavy in the beginning, or exposition heavy. I think the problem is that there's an old Stan Lee saying that every comic is somebody's first comic. And the problem is that they've been stringing these characters out for so long that they feel like they need to re-establish everything because every issue is a one-shot or a first issue. So they feel like well, it might be somebody's first comic, which is a good way to write, but they go a bit overboard on it. They need to scale that back. They could just do like a standard character sheet. Like Marvel used to have that little yellow box at the top of their comics to tell you who the character was. They could do something like that and get rid of that. But they do, it's very heavy on the exposition and the thought stuff. And it's like, don't need it. But overall, it was actually kind of a fun story. I really actually enjoyed this one. I thought the art was good. I didn't have a problem with it. It's funny that they keep calling these one-shots because they always tie into the past ones and they always lead us to the next one.
It's true. It's not a one-shot.
I think Zenescope just got past the point of going, well, we're not going to come out on time, so we're just going to call these one-shots or have each individual name,
I think that's or they lost count and couldn't figure out how to get their numbering back.
You mean like I did on Popco the Writers this week, where I did episode 83 twice?
Yeah, isn't it supposed to be like episode 87?
I think it's 84, but yeah, it's.
What is that sound? Is that Han?
Yeah, he's in the room with me.
You need to bring Han on the air, Jay.
He's laying down. He don't
Han
care.
Puppo. All right, so I'm gonna start with this one.
Mm-hmm.
I was really excited for Cullen Bunn to have a book at Comixology. That was the end of that statement. I never thought I would be disappointed in a Cullen Bunn book. But
I got screwed up. Okay.
But at a place like Comixology, where you have an opportunity to do something that is wildly different than any other publisher could allow you to do, to build this world the way he built it, and to not... Guys, I've gotten 3 phone calls since this show started. Okay. To build the universe the way he could have and to just kind of lay off, like it feels like he did, is wildly disappointing to me. And that's my problem with this book. I think it has all the makings, but it's like I'm going to go 75% of the way and then just stop. So
I couldn't get into this book because it didn't feel right to me. It feels, I mean, you look at the artwork and it feels like almost like a slice of life type book, but it's this kind of sci-fi or horror thing going on. And it doesn't match up. It just doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel like I'm getting what I think I'm supposed to be getting when I'm reading it. And the reason I didn't get Census is because they sent this one out specifically this week, where Census was sent out at the beginning of the month. So I thought, I have Comixology, and I moved on. So, but yeah. Also, it just feels like I don't know what he's getting at here. Is it just me, or does it seem like a lot of comics nowadays give us a first issue that don't actually tell us anything?
Agreed.
So that was my problem with it.
So I basically wrote the first line of my notes. Stares blankly in what? Okay. The main character is a party girl jerk. Uh, I don't know how to say anything about this book except for it feels like we're going for aliens, alternate Earth experiments, and then random monster. And then it's one of those, we start kind of like while something is happening, and then we go back. And then when you go, the character's not likable at all. Like, at all. I could care. I hope this character dies, honestly. But it just feels like a hobbled together story. Like, it was so many ideas, like a hodgepodge of ideas. Like, what were you trying to go for? And this, for me, goes back to, I think maybe Cullen Bunn is doing too much, spreading himself way too thin, and it's starting to show in some of his writing. But I guess we'll just see where the next issue goes. But not a fan.
By the way, just so you know what a demented, evil mind Cullen Bunn has, if you follow him on social media, he posted a picture of what he put into a white elephant gift. Yeah, prize what his gift was. It was a picture of himself, a framed picture of himself. That's the white elephant gift.
That's great.
Yeah.
I went to a white elephant once and actually gave someone a white elephant.
Nice.
Yeah, like I hate white elephant gift exchanges, but I'm gonna steal that. I'm just gonna start giving people my headshot. Signed copies of my headshot to my friend. All right. Next up, Red Sonja, Hell Sonja, #1.
Well, I'm glad because we needed another Red Sonja book.
Right.
First off, weirdly attractive hooved Red Sonja demon. I felt a little awkward, but in true J fashion, I thought this was pretty good. A bit confusing because it has another one of those multiversal kind of feels to it. And the demons, some of them kind of look more like aliens than demons to me. And apparently there's a Hell Sonja miniseries. There's a little box down there that tells you check out blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe reading that would fill in some of the gaps that I had. But overall, even though this feels like the 30th iteration in the 100th Red Sonja book we've read, I liked it. And I think Dynamite this week and last week for me is kind of putting out some bangers. I liked it.
So I'm with Dan on the because we needed another freaking Red Sonja book. However, I did think we needed another Hell Sonja book. I really liked the Hell Sonja miniseries. I like Red Sonja as a character. I think Dynamite is doing her a disservice by literally having 7 bajillion different stories with her in it right now. Like, 2 would be fine. And one of them should be this. I quite enjoyed this because I like Red Sonja and I like Hell Sonja. I like the version of her that's a demon queen. Right? Which is a little bit of a different take. I did not think we needed 22 covers for this book. There's actually 23 covers, but one of them's a store exclusive. But, like, if you're going to do a Linsner cover, this is a pretty good one. Right? Like, there was nothing about this book that I found problematic or troubling, which I thought might be the case because yet it's a yet another Red Sonja book. But at the same time, it wasn't anything to write home about. It was a good book that was enjoyable, and it will get you through a week.
Yeah, I did enjoy it too. I thought it was a pretty good read. I like seeing Sonya with the love interest, and but afraid that he's going to die at any moment. Thought that was interesting, and then of course they kind of give you the hint that he might. By the way, speaking of Linsner, happy birthday to Joe Linsner. It's his birthday today. Um, I I would like to see Dynamite focus Red Sonja a little more, just like Vampirella. Like there was a couple books we didn't get to because there was a lot of Dynamite books this week. Besides the one we are going to cover, Vampirella Mind Warp #4 came out. Sweet Candy Vigilante #3.
Ooh.
So there was a lot of Dynamite books this week, and I picked 3 of them to cover. But I thought this one was good. I just would like to see them kind of focus the characters a little more, because it's just kind of like they're all over the place, and there's not like a cohesive story.
Do you know what it feels like to me? It's like Dynamite doesn't know when they're going to lose the Red Sonja license. And so they're going to beat that horse for every dollar it's worth until they do. And that is just an unfortunate way for people to feel about characters. That said, they've definitely done worse by both of these characters than this book. So it's a solid B.
Yeah.
All right. So there were 3 Dynamite books we covered. We probably could have only covered 2 and still been good, because the second book we have from Dynamite on our list is Legally Not Jennifer Blood, which is all I can say about this book. Like, at some point, how many more books do we need where there are child sex predators and a lady assassin who only wears underwear and rides a motorcycle with secret special technology? Stop. You have one that's freaking phenomenal in Jennifer Blood. Don't create more. This could have been a Jennifer Blood story, and I'd say this is one of the best books of the week. But it's not, and so it falls flat.
Well, I don't remember reading the first one. I don't know if we ever did, or if I just wasn't here for it. But I like this. I could have done without the underage ring thing, because that's starting to become kind of played out as well. But I thought it was a good story. It was interesting to me. I liked the tech that she had, and the main character isn't perfect. Like, we see her kind of get her butt kicked at the beginning of the book. And some of these other female characters they come out with, they're like untouchable. So it's nice every once in a while to see one of them kind of get beat down just a little bit, so they're not superhuman. But again, I really liked it. This is another book from Dynamite this week that I was like, wow, I'm starting to come around to more Dynamite books, I guess, because I pretty much liked all the Dynamite books on the list this week. I thought it was good.
I liked it, and it doesn't feel that much like Jennifer Blood to me, because I don't know. I mean, there's the vengeance thing, but this feels more like a John Wick type thing, because he's going after a specific person, where Jennifer Blood is just trying to take out like all of the mob, and this is a much more personal story from that point of view. It's a character that was designed by Mark Silvestri. And a lot of former Image artists are doing covers. Like, this is a Brett Booth cover that I like. So yeah, I agree. The child sex trafficking ring thing is getting a little played out, but overall, I thought it was a pretty good story.
Lord of the Jungle #2. This cover, by the way, is one of the most beautiful covers I've seen, and I can't tell you how long.
I am digging this story. I really am. Every once in a while, somebody comes out with a book, and I mean, Dynamite's done this, where they really just kind of nail the feel that the original creator had. When Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmiotti were writing Red Sonja, it felt like, you know, who created Red Sonja? Oh man, like the creator of Red Sonja, the creator of Conan. And this feels like an Edgar Rice Burroughs story to me.
There are not, Ed. There are 11, 12, and an FOC variant. So I guess 13. I will say this, though. Every cover for this book is great this week. I got this cover, I got the Dan Panosian cover, and I got the FOC variant, which looks like the old Marvel Comics comic and record set.
Yeah.
That's by Hack that I'm very excited about. Like, I thought this book was a little bit of a letdown from issue 1, but issue 1 was so good you can have a letdown and still have. Yes, Robert E. Howard. Thank you, CJ.
Robert E. Howard, thank you. I could not think of that. Jeez.
Yeah, I kept coming to Edgar Rice Burroughs and going, no, that's wrong.
Yeah.
But no, so this book felt like a letdown from issue 1. But issue 1 was so far up there. It was so good. To have a letdown is still an extremely good book. Right? It's like when your team beats its rival and then only beats the next team it plays by a little bit, and it feels like a letdown, still a win. So that's what this was for me. I really am enjoying seeing old man Tarzan be kind of James Connian. Like that's the only person I can kind of equate it to. It's like, are you really gonna mess with me? I know I look like an old man, but I will kill you 8 different ways. Right?
Yeah.
Like just having old man Tarzan be that guy, and like the joke about, you seem to have a lot of clothes for a guy who usually only wears underwear. Like, that's a great joke.
Yeah.
Like, Dan Jurgens absolutely crushing it here. Even if I do feel like this is a letdown, it's still much better than most of the books that came out this week.
Well, it's funny that you should call him that, because the first thing I said was this book is Old Man Tarzan, and I'm here for it. This was another great entry. The story is still great. The art is still solid. I love the flashbacks, even though the last one had me like angry, teared up. That ending panel, I was like, man, I cannot wait to see what Tarzan has planned for this person, and heaven help whoever it is, because it looks like he's bringing hell with him. I, again, knocked it out of the park for me on this one.
Yeah, I find it interesting that we're spending time with young Tarzan and old Tarzan. You know, it's like,
well, middle-aged Tarzan wasn't it wasn't very interesting. It was just him chasing Jane.
But it's who we're used to seeing. And here we're getting like both ends of the spectrum. It's like, okay, kind of an interesting take on it.
I was watching an interview with Adam Sandler and Brendan Fraser.
Saw that interview.
Where the 2 things I took away from it was Adam Sandler taking credit for discovering Brendan Fraser for putting him in Airheads, and then Adam Sandler giving him all kinds of crap for being in Airheads and then getting so cut to be in Tarzan,
George of the Jungle,
yeah. And Brendan Fraser going, well, when they tell you the costume is there is no costume, you get right away to the gym. You stop drinking quite as much. You go right to the gym. Like, that's how I feel about this. You know, it's like, all right, I don't want middle-aged Tarzan. I want young Tarzan who's figuring out how to be Tarzan. and I want old Tarzan who like knows everything and is just ready to force you to learn.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for him to look at the guy and go, "Get out of my jungle."
All right. Next up is Leonid the Vampire, A Christmas for Crows.
We finally found it. A Mike Mignola book that I went, why is this made?
Okay, so as long as we're on the same page.
Yeah, I have loved everything they've been cranking out with Mike Mignola. I got to this one and I'm like, what the hell is this?
Hey, John.
Hey, John.
It to me, and this is, I guess, my take on Leonid, right?
Yeah.
It's like he felt like he needed an all ages book in the Hellboy universe, but doesn't know how to write an all ages book. Right? It's like, this is a book that even my 7 and 8 year old nephews would go, "What?
Yeah.
Uncle Kyle, that Hellboy book you let us read last week and told us not to tell Mom about was way better than this."
Yeah,
Like-
Young Hellboy is better. All
Yes,
ages.
and that's what I mean. Like, I let him read Young Hellboy. Like, it's I don't know. It feels like maybe this is something that should take place in like the Wednesday Addams universe, but doesn't.
Yeah. Same boat as y'all. This was weird and super short. So I don't have a ton to say about it that y'all haven't already touched on. This is the one thing in this universe, so I'm kind of like, yeah, I could have done without reading this.
Okay.
All right.
Over here. Remember to hit the like and subscribe
Yes.
buttons. They're down there. You can find them. They're over there.
Somewhere.
Let's
Yeah.
take a break before we go to the next book and do some business here. Dan, tomorrow on the Dan Wickline Show, you're going to be talking about?
I'm going to explore the idea that perhaps what the big reveal from the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special may be an even bigger reveal than we think.
I sat down on Saturday. I went and I rang the bell for people to put money in a bucket for Christmas. I do that every year. I volunteer an hour once a week and do that. I came back and I was so cold and so exhausted from standing in the rain doing that I put on the Guardians holiday special, watched the first 5 minutes, fell asleep, and then woke up for the trailer or woke up for the credits. So I have to rewatch it. Like, I didn't intend to. It just happened that way. And it's not the fault of the movie either. It's the fault of living in Ohio in the winter. So
I'm more shocked you had an hour to spare.
I may or may not have been on the phone the whole time, but you can ring the bell and still be on the phone.
Oh, we'll ring the bell. Okay.
So, it's one of them things, but I'm very excited to I will rewatch it again before tomorrow night's Dan Wickline show. Jay, there's a new Space Cadets coming out on Thursday.
Yes, there is.
What is this episode?
So we learned that one of them had never seen the movie Akira and watched it and got creeped out by the grandpa children. Then it's really hard to pinpoint what they're going to talk about. I give them some topics, and sometimes they're like, okay, these are cool. And other times they're just like, nah, we're just going to talk about whatever. It's always a fun show, though. I love sitting behind the scenes and listening to them. But they got a good pick of the week this week. Their pick last week was Hocus Hocus by Alan Dunford and Will Radford. Everybody really seemed to enjoy that one. So gonna tag Alan in that one, tell him to watch, and check it out. It's always a fun time with them.
And then I have a new show where I basically do what I always do whenever I'm on the air, which is just say what I think and then argue with people who disagree with me. That's Monday nights at 9.
It's great.
But I will be back on Friday with Nick for the art show. And I'll be back on Sunday night for the Nerd News Now. But I wanted to take a second and plug Fat Jack's Comic Crypt on Sunday. This coming Sunday is our Chris Mahana Kwanzaa celebration, which is to say they're going to miss 2 weeks because of Christmas and New Year's. So this is a big special show for them. It is also, if you've ever watched that show and you got to meet Al, who was, one of the guys when the show launched, Al is actually leaving Fat Jack's altogether and moving with his wife to Maine to be closer to their family. So this is his last episode as well. So the playlist will be something like songs to break up with Al to. It'll be.
You can call me Al.
No, mine will be "Since You've Been Gone" by Weird Al. Because since you've been gone, I feel like I've been chewing on tinfoil. It's almost as bad as it was when you were still here. So, no, I just want to give a shout out to that show. Those guys work really hard. And that store is having a little bit of a rough patch. So if you could show up to support that show, that'd be great. But it'll also be Al's last week. We have a lot of fun over there, talking about music and sports and all kinds of other stuff while talking about comics. So, all right. Are you ready to get back into this week's books?
Oh, yeah. We're getting closer to the one I really want to talk about.
And when we're done, I can go back to my Aquaman scarf.
Yes.
I still think it's a Miami Dolphins scarf, but
No, if it would have been teal and orange, it would be.
when they do their color rush uniforms there.
Yeah.
All right, I'll start here. I really, really, really tried to get Jody Hauser on the air with Miss Jen this week to talk about this book because I was so excited for it. And I think the story was great. I think the language they used to tell the story was needlessly Old Englishy. I had to read this book so impossibly slowly to be able to follow and understand what they were saying because it was like the whole thing was written in a Cockney accent or was written like in like that I'm King Arthur of Camelot kind of language, like, but not like Monty Python King Arthur, like the movie Camelot King Arthur, where it's like, let's be fancy to be fancy. That's how this felt. And it was a little rough. I don't think it took away from the story. Well, like I said, I think the story was good, but it was just a tough read.
I really liked the story, but I agree with you on the language and the fact that everybody has stupid names.
Boy.
Right?
Yeah, it's like I get that it's a character thing, but no. The fact that one of the guys' name is Chivalry and he doesn't seem very chivalrous.
Irony.
And Regal and Irony it might have been one of the princes. But I thought it was interesting. There's a lot going on there, and I'm really curious where it's going to go. But yeah, the language was just, it was hard because it's when you take words that you're used to using in a certain way, and suddenly they're being used as names.
CJ, if it was Dick Van Dyke, whose birthday is today, by the way, if it was Dick Van Dyke from Mary Poppins, it would have been better. But it wasn't that. It was like, again, it was like trying to watch, the original Camelot with, what's his name, Robert Goulet in it or something. It's like, we're going to be needlessly...
Camelot.
Right, we're going to be needlessly prissy.
Needlessly prissy. That assumes that at some point in life, there is a certain amount of prissiness that is called for. An appropriate level of prissiness.
There is.
I'm going to go...
Was it Lionel Barrymore? Whatever.
Really, this is going to sound super strange come from me, but I felt like I was reading the opening of a novel, and for me, this would have worked better as a book.
It's an adaptation of a book.
Is it? See, I didn't know that. I'd rather read the book, to be honest with you. Maybe it can catch me in the second issue, but when I was reading this, I was like, instead of having the pictures there, I'd rather just read the book. I wasn't the biggest fan of this.
Ed, we're not allowed to say that word because we may get a copyright strike and get taken off the air. But you know what this book and the language in this book reminded me of? I saw a meme going around the internet. It's a chart, a line chart of the usage of the word bruh through time. And how back in the 1850s, 1860s through the early 1900s, it was used a lot. Then it tanked off, and then it picked back up in the 60s and even got bigger in the 2000s. It's like they rediscovered words that used to be used and decided to use them.
Okay. Assassin's Apprentice is a fantasy novel by American writer Robin Hobb, the first book in the Farseer trilogy. It was Margaret Astrid Lindholm Ogden's first book under this pseudonym. So Robin Hobb's not even the real person. And was published in 1995. The book was written under the working title Chivalry's Bastard.
I like that name better.
Yes.
Chivalry's Bastard is the name of my Queens of the Stone Age ska cover band.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often, John, but it does happen sometimes.
Yeah, Jay's T-shirt will say, "It's not horrible," or "It's not that bad."
That's right.
All right. I'm making that T-shirt tonight. Fine. I'm doing it.
Yeah, the fact that Jay doesn't like the book that Kyle and I actually do like, that's scary.
It's true. And I'm not a big sword and sorcery kind of guy, but this wasn't bad.
No, he
All
likes
right.
little swords.
Oh. Oh, goodness. Oh.
You're going to leave it open like that.
I'm not angry at you making the joke. I'm angry that I didn't think of it first. All right, Crashing, number 4.
This is the first issue I didn't actually like. I've really enjoyed this series, but it felt predictable and it felt, I don't know. It just, as much as this was clicking before, it just hit a point. I'm like, can we get to the end? It felt like a filler issue to me. An unnecessary issue with a lot of drama and not much story,
If this is a redemption story in the end, if this is what the goal of this is, right? And we've spent 3 issues building to this point, and then issues 5 through whatever are the redemption arc for this character that we've been following. This is the issue where we see everything crumble to the ground, right? Everything that she's built has been destroyed and dismantled, and this is the rock bottom moment. I don't necessarily think that this is the way to portray a rock bottom moment. I don't necessarily think that this is the way to kick off a redemption arc.
Yeah.
And with the things they've been building, with her working with the bad powered guy, you want to build a redemption arc, just have her start with the good powered guy. Right? That can do it. You don't have to have her whole world torn apart. Like we saw at the end of issue 3, and then what happens in this book.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the route they've chosen to take. So I'm going to need in issue 5 to see from Matthew Klein a reason why issue 4 is the way it is. Otherwise, I'm going to be very upset.
You made a great point. You said, her entire life falls apart. Issue 3 ends with her entire life falling apart. Issue 4 is them going, oh, wait, we forgot a piece. Rip.
Right. No, that's exactly it. So as someone who's dealt with addiction and some of the things that are topics in this book, a lot of times you think you've hit rock bottom only to find out that rock bottom has a basement. And that's what this is. And so I understand that as a premise for a redemption arc. I really do. I don't think that it serves the story to tear her down even further, because it just means that in the next 2 or 3 issues, or however many issues you have left of this book, you've got that much further to build. And I think at the end of issue 3, we were far enough. Right? I only see solicitation for 5 books. So that means you're going to completely redeem this character in 1 issue? I don't think that works like that.
This book is so depressing. It's so depressing. Like, I remember reading the Alice book and didn't feel as depressed. Like, I liked the story so far, but then we get to this, and it's like you said, she found the basement, but then she started digging a hole in the basement. Like, I was reading this thing, and I was just like, my goodness, why don't you just kill this character off or something, man? You're just beating her to hell. I really hope they pull something magical off in this next issue. But let's a little bit of positivity, just a little bit. Like, comics shouldn't make me this sad. I feel so bad for this person. Pick it up just a little bit. That's all I'm asking.
It's probably going to go the complete opposite direction. Like, she smuggles a bomb into the bad guy's place in her belly and then blows herself up to take him out, and that's her redemption. Yeah.
Wow, Dan, that got dark.
He's probably right, though, with the way this book's been going, man.
That's fair. All right, next up. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Armageddon Game, The Alliance #2. So, there's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, there's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Armageddon Game, and then there's Armageddon Game Alliance. Here's what you need to know. The Armageddon Game books are the main Armageddon Game story. What's happening in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is what is happening to the characters that we've been seeing in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the ones we've been following in the regular book during the Armageddon Game. The Alliance stories are what's happening to the secondary characters, so the allies of the Turtles and their friends. So this is what's happening to Baxter Stockman, what's happening to Casey Jones or April O'Neil or any of these other kind of outside characters. Those are in the Alliance books. In order to get the full understanding of what's happening, you need to read all of it. However, if you read any one of the 3, you're going to get somewhat decent story that you may not fully understand, but I think that each can stand on their own as well.
This was the first one of all of these that I really enjoyed and liked, because it focused on a single character in a sense. You had the other mutants in it, the punk frogs or whatever they're called. But this was Casey's story. And Casey's a character that's been around for a long time. He's a character I recognize. Stephen Amell played him in one of the movies. I get it. I understand Casey Jones. So I was able to follow suit. The fact his father died, the fact that he had been part of this racist group or hate group, there's a lot going on there, and I could identify with it. I could get it. And it's a level of opening. It's a level of, that I can't seem to get with the other books. This one was much more accessible, in my opinion. And it's, I don't remember who was in Alliances #1, who it was about.
We didn't read it as a group.
Oh, okay. I just remember, I know Casey Jones, and this one made sense to me. And I could have read this and not read anything else and been okay. This would have been fine.
So this was a great Casey Jones story. I feel like it could have been its own thing if it hadn't been for what happens at the end of the book. Casey's my favorite character outside of the Turtles. So seeing a story that was basically his story, it was great. But I don't feel like this should have been part of the Armageddon game arc. This was a nice break from the main story that I'm so confused on still. I need a map. But when I went into this, when I'm reading the title alone, I was like, okay, cool, more setup. But then when I started reading it, I was like, oh, so this is a Casey and the Punk Frogs kind of story. Awesome. I'd love for them to spin off and do their own series with Casey and the Punk Frogs. I think that'd be awesome. But yeah, I like this one the most out of everything we've read so far.
By the way, that's the name of my new ska band, Casey and the Punk.
Casey and the Punk Frogs, and my Casey and the Sunshine Band ska cover band. By the way, Armageddon Game Alliance #1 was Araku Karai.
I'm sorry, who?
That was the character, was Araku Karai.
I don't know who that is.
Shredder's granddaughter.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's one of those things is that, right, some of these characters, if you don't have a big Ninja Turtles backstory, are going to be tough. Because, like, Alliance #3 is Angel Bridge and some of the original Purple Dragons. Like, if you don't know who they are, that book's going to be a little weird. Just could tell you. I mean, that whole story was a little weird anyway. So...
When you were saying the name of the person in the first book, I thought you said a rock who could cry. And I'm thinking it's a book about turtles who become ninjas. It totally could be an emotional rock.
No, it's the Dwayne the Rock Johnson crossover.
Dwayne the Rock Johnson in Schindler's List 2. Question, Dan, last week. What was the title of the Vampirella book you wrote? Well, it is The Blood Dragon. Vampirella the Blood Dragon.
All right. So we have one more book. We could talk about Dan's writing, but we have one more book that Jay and I are both very excited for. I don't know how Dan felt about this book.
Oh. Okay, I'll start this one so I can get over real quick.
Well, I want to say my piece.
Okay, go ahead.
It's the best thing Libra Mayho has done in a long time. And that really is saying something because Libra Mayho is one of the greatest artists working right now. Go ahead, Jay.
Okay. So, the art in this book has to be the most stunning art I have seen in a long time. Like, the art in this book is fantastic. The story also has multiple art styles in it, which are all really, really good. The story was awesome. The villain, awesome. For me, this is like, so we start this kind of in the middle of a story, but this book should be the blueprint of how you start in the middle of a story. Writers out there, if you want to know how to start in the middle of a story and make your story still interesting, this is the book. I love this book. Easily my pick of the week this week. Easily.
You guys are done?
Yeah, go ahead, Jay. Or go
All
ahead,
the smoke has been blown up the proverbial butt of the book.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, other than the fact that I bought all three variants because they're all very cool. They're all three covers. They're all very cool.
Okay, just I'm going to give the real opinion now. Guys, this book is freaking awesome. The art is amazing. The story is really good, and Jay's right. This is a great way to start a book in the middle. It is intense. If I had to say anything negative about the book, it was just the absolute shock when the color changes.
Mm.
This is basically a time travel book.
If we say too much, it gives too much away.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Looper.
Yeah. And it's a super intense book, and it's really good.
Here, Ed, I'm gonna put it this way. You see that cover? That's pencils. He did that with pencils. And that's the art style inside the book. There were several times where I would look at a panel and go, is that a photograph? Because I've never seen a book drawn that way.
Yeah, because that really does look like a photograph of a dinosaur.
Well, I mean, but some of the early pages, like where it's him and his, and they're in bed or whatever. Like, yeah. I'm going, this looks like a picture. Lee just destroys it. Just knock it apart. And Mattson Tomlin, by the way, is writing Solomon Grundy right now. That's the other thing he's doing. He's writing the Solomon Grundy TV show. Wow. The guy who's writing this book is, so it's a great book. Really fun. Super good story. Like everything they said, this was the other book. I went to Boom and was like, look, I got to talk to these people about this book. We got to have them on the air. Neither of them are available for press because Mattson is so busy with Solomon Grundy and writing the book, and Lee Bermejo with the time difference is unavailable. But they're like, look, we get it, and we appreciate how high you are on this. Can we give you Rob Guillory for his new book after the first of the year? And I went, wow. So that's okay. This book is going to be real special then.
Yeah,
if your B team is Rob Guillory.
Yeah, this is a really, really stunningly good book. I knew nothing about it. It was just on the list. I went, oh, it's a new #1. I'll put it in. Turned out to be the first book I read and was like, it just started everything off perfect.
I say, Dan, if this is the first one you read, man, I'm sorry.
But it stayed my #1 the entire time.
Yeah.
It's true. All right, guys, we got to get out of here so that we can get over to Minute to Skim It. We will see everyone next week. Visit comicshoplocator.com. You know what to do. We'll see you next time. Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.